This is wild, as Jim Montgomery made another insane change to this lineup ahead of their game tonight against the Carolina Hurricanes. I'm going to be talking about all of the moves and the many, many quotes that Jim Montgomery had said with reasoning to this entire overhaul of the offensive side of this team. And as I mentioned, I'm going to be talking about all of this. A lot of insane moves, a lot of questionable ones that Jim Montgomery has made. We'll be discussing this video. I want to get your opinion. Let me know in the comments below what you think of these moves. But before we get into it, we know 70% of you guys watching right now are not subscribed to the channel. If you're looking for a spot to get all of your Boston Bruins news, you're in the right spot. Hit the sub button. Join me here on the channel as we cover everything Boston Bruins related. One further note, I'll be live streaming tonight after tonight's game against the Carolina Hurricanes. A nice little Halloween stream discussing what further we've realized about this Boston Bruins team after a very tough challenge tonight. So I want to see you guys all there. Let me know what you think of the game. But without any further ado, let's get into our first topic here of the video, which is the Bruins have made multiple changes. And once again, this is a very familiar topic for Boston Bruin fans and the team. We know that many, many changes have been made, and this one is probably the most insane of them all. And a lot of people are not liking this, but I got mixed opinions. I'll let you know what I think. But first, I'm going to pull it up and talk about what we got here. It comes from Scott McLaughlin on Twitter. Some true blender combinations for the Bruins at practice today. Now, bear with me. Beecher, Zacha, and Pastrnak being that first line. Marchand, Lindholm, and Kastelik being the second line. Frederic, Poitras, and Brazeau being the third line. Jones, Coyle, Koepke being the fourth line, and Tyler Johnson, who is still with the team, and Morgan Geekie are the two scratches on the night. So if these are the lineups that we're looking at tonight, if this is the official roster, which it appears to be, Jim Montgomery's spoken out about the major changes that need to happen, and especially in tonight's game, this lineup is going to look very, very different. And the defense hasn't changed too much, really similar to what we've been seeing. But the offense is the real big shock factor to this lineup here. And for those who weren't sure what the lineup was last game, this is what we were looking at. Not too much of a difference, but there was a lot to kind of look at here. And obviously, this is the ones that we're seeing tonight as it was in practice. But looking at what we had seen from last game, really we're seeing Beecher, Kastelik, and Cole Koepke on the fourth line, but Brazeau on the third, and just many other changes. And Max Jones being in this lineup once again, the penalty-taking machine. But so these were the lines that we're looking at tonight, I guess, on DFO Daily Faceoff. But what we're seeing from last game is a pretty big difference and a pretty big change. The notable one being splitting up the fourth line. And now this is one that Jim Montgomery really has spoken about, but hasn't wanted to do. And this is our first quote here from Jim Montgomery. It says, "I don't know. It should work. Two smart hockey players play really well. Two players that can shoot and pass, two players that can skate. It just hasn't materialized, so we're changing it up." That being regarded to the move between Lindholm and Pastrnak. And obviously, that's another big change here as well. Looking at that first line, very interesting to see that line's only being changed now. We haven't seen any success there on that line whatsoever. And going to see it now, this should be one that the Bruins are going to enjoy. This is one that the Bruins should enjoy seeing and really should take something out of. And looking at that once again, having Marchand, Lindholm, and Kastelik is a very interesting one. However, still, I think there are better options for that first line. Matty Poitras going up instead of Pavel Zacha. Zacha has not had a really hot start to the season, but Poitras has. And I think him and Pastrnak could certainly be a very, very interesting option. But looking at more, we still have so much more from Jim Montgomery here. And this is what he had to say secondary about Morgan Geekie. I know we've seen this before, play better, and that has been a trend for Morgan Geekie here, and simply has not done that. He has not been able to play better. He has not been good enough to be in this roster right now, and that really comes to show being scratched for tonight's game in favor of Max Jones. And Max Jones isn't the best option either, but really goes to show how desperate the Bruins, Jim Montgomery, and everybody in this lineup is to try and go out and get a win. Go out and try something different that we haven't seen in the past. And looking at this once again, Max Jones being on that fourth line with Charlie Coyle and Cole Koepke. Charlie Coyle being moved down from the second line center. Cole Koepke staying on the fourth line after trying the second line right wing and many other options. That fourth line is a very interesting one to have it to be split up, knowing that that line has been the best, but it makes sense looking at it and looking at how things should play out. Being that fourth line has really been the goal starter, the game-setting, energy for this whole team, and having this split up, the hope that this transfers through the lines of those individual players is a very big one. And this is what Jim Montgomery had to say on that topic. Our fourth line has been our best line if you want to call it a fourth line. The message to those three, and that was the most important message, was you guys are being split up to help other guys be better, not for you to become quote-unquote skill players. So Jim Montgomery really here saying that he don't want these guys to change their game. He don't want these guys to go out and try and control that line. We still know that these players are very, very talented. They're still fourth-line players for now, but that line worked together. And hopefully splitting those guys up, knowing that the energy and the momentum that they were able to bring to this lineup, being able to bring to whatever line they were on, transfers to those new lines, transfers to the whole team as a momentum-shifting play. And Montgomery still don't want these guys to go out and really just go for it all. They need to keep things simple, play their game in specific, because their game was obviously the one that worked and the one that the Bruins are going to want to try and follow suit with throughout the rest of this season, especially the upcoming games against the Carolina Hurricanes tonight in specific. And it's going to be a game-setting game, or a momentum-setting game, as I should say. And this is one that I'm going to be very nervous to watch and very nervous to kind of look at while going over this, knowing that the difficulty that they're going to have against the Carolina Hurricanes, a team who's been very, very talented over the past few years, is really going to show what they can do against good teams after a win against the Toronto Maple Leafs. And if this is just one of these times where you're losing to bad teams and you're beating the good ones. Never seems to make sense, but it still has happened in the past. And this tweet here from Steve Conroy is one I'm looking at now. The Frederic and Brazeau and Poitras with the line that was there. But an interesting part, as I mentioned earlier, Tyler Johnson also took a turn with Lindholm and Marchand. Really interesting to see that Tyler Johnson is watching this team, certainly frustrated, not giving a chance to play, knowing that he could certainly help this team in some way. He's not going to be the momentum shifting the entire team, but he's definitely a piece that will help this team get a win. And I still don't know how Tyler Johnson is not frustrated looking at this, looking at what we've seen here on this team, nothing coming from this, and him still being on the sidelines over guys like Max Jones. And, Max Jones in specific, I was very high on him in the offseason. I do think that he still can be a very good player. He just needs to stop taking penalties and become a lot more consistent. And that just hasn't happened yet, especially with a big part being he hasn't played enough. And the times he has played, he's been taking too many penalties, which have, obviously reduced his time on ice, or what he would have had time on ice. So a very interesting piece to note that Tyler Johnson still actively going on this team. And I'm very curious to see how long he will be before he gets frustrated and really just decides, you know what, this is it. I'm done with this. This is ridiculous. You're not letting me go and do my thing on the ice. So it's another thing to note. But with one final quote that we have here from Jim Montgomery is this one. It's, so many quotes from Jim Montgomery and a lot of stuff that we've been seeing over the past few weeks as well, really saying the same thing. Saying, I don't want their games to change. This is regarding the fourth line. I want them to play north. I want them on their work habits to rub off on the other players so we can create more turnovers, create more opportunities. And that's one thing that the fourth line's been really good at, is just creating opportunities for themselves, for whoever's on the ice with them, and, momentum shifting turnovers. Everything like that has been going in the fourth line's favor, and hopefully that momentum, their play style, will work out with the other guys, these skilled players on the ice. And it's only a matter of time until we can actually see. And, we can see so much in practice. We can see so much working how it will, in scrims and whatnot. But the game is going to be a whole different scenario, and I'm very interested to see if it will actually work and when, or if not, it will. So let me know what you think about these roster moves. I think there's going to be a lot of mixed opinions about this, and we're going to be discussing this in the stream tonight, so be sure to tune into that. But that's all I got here on this video. If you did enjoy, give it a like, hit the sub button as well, but I'm signing out. Thank you for watching. Hope you have a great day. See you later.